Block party, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's Black Friday. And yes, here we are. Let's set some levels here. This is the B-side episode 195 from Media Monarchy. My name's James Evan Pilato. I'm your host and webmaster of the site and show, MediaMonarchy.com, your source for alternative news, politics, conspiracies, and those pesky little cover-ups. That was Block Party, Hunting for Witches, from their 2007 record, A Weekend in the City. And again, welcome new and returning listeners. These B-side episodes, as the weeks and months, and even, yes, years have gone on, this is the location where we go over a lot of the other related Media Monarchy stories. Other alternative news sites that we are proud enough to be associated with, the latest work coming out from all those sources, and we'll get to the latest from Corbett Report and Ground Zero at the end of this episode, as well as my sister sites, cyberspacewar.com, and we're going to hit just a few short updates on foodworldorder.com, and we'll begin with giving thanks. Survey finds more families dining together, and that comes from Food Safety News. Over these last now, again, couple of years, as we're looking for silver linings to the dark economic clouds, this is another one. We discussed in greater detail last week Senate Bill 510, a.k.a. the Food Safety and Modernization Act. We have the latest from Natural News. The vote has been delayed until after Thanksgiving, which is right now Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. We were talking it last week. We still have two main ways to put our money where our Media Monarchy mouth is. And one is buying silver very soon. And the other is calling my senator, Ron Wyden, who we'll get to in just a few minutes when we get to Cyberspace War, to vote down Senate Bill 510, and at the very least to make sure that what's called the Tester Amendment is included, and what that can do to exempt smaller farms from these draconian measures that essentially, yes, gives Homeland Security control over what food you can grow. Furthermore, from naturalnews.com, noting the food safety meme that the FDA has killed far more people than contaminated eggs or lettuce have. Going right along with that, medical mistakes kill 15,000 patients every month. They tell you to be worried about boogie terror men, but you're far more likely to get hit by a car or even struck by lightning than terrorists getting you. NativeTimes.com gets into a book series called Eat This, giving consumers the skinny on food choices, but as all of these stories, we have to give the caveat that just because we post things to the site doesn't necessarily mean I endorse them. We're trying to give you a broad spectrum of info. So, of course, do your own research. Interesting one coming from the District of Criminals, and we call it that because here we have from the Washington Post, arrest in Prince George's probe exposed ties between politicians and liquor officials. Yes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Gangsterism, dropping the mask and coming full in all our faces. Whether that's big business or big entertainment or big pharma or, in this case, prohibition. Gangsters and prohibition. Some of the names change, some of the tactics get accelerated, and some of the names of the drugs that we're demonizing in particular generations change. And this is a fairly massive story. Washington Post having a huge other related links into this investigation, Shock of shocks. Politicians and liquor officials connected. Drunk in bed together, if you will. Feds investigating drinking glasses with lead. That's right, cadmium in your kids' glassware. You know, like the kind you get from the fast food stores that have some corporate cartoon character on it. Allgov.com noting that arsenic is still used in chicken feed. And the last note on this binge and purge, posted yesterday, 11/25, giving thanks. Cryptagon.com has posted a story along with, I believe, a couple of updates. A vegan no more. Getting into the specifics of what you need and what some people must have. Voracious Vegan. TheVoraciousVegan.com is a vegan no more. The update is the author received death threats because that's how tolerant we all are. We're so progressive. Our other note on foodworldorder.com comes from care2.com. Addicted to cheese? Here's why. Ever felt like you couldn't give up cheese? Ever think it might actually be a drug? The surprising news is that as far back as the 1980s, researchers have known that cheese contains trace amounts of morphine. Seriously. In 1981, Eli Hazum and his colleagues at Wellcome Research Laboratories reported traces of the chemical morphine, a highly addictive opiate. It turns out that morphine is found in cow milk and human, purportedly to ensure offspring will bond very strongly with their mothers and get all the nutrients they need to grow. Researchers also discovered the protein casein. You know that, casein, which breaks into casomorphins when it's digested and also produces opiate effects. In cheese, casein is concentrated, and so is the level of casomorphins, so the pleasurable effect is greater. Neil Barnard, MD, said, quote, "Since cheese is processed to express out all the liquid, it's an incredibly concentrated source of casomorphins. You might call it dairy crack." A vegan no more indeed. We'll now move to all the latest from cyberspacewar.com that, yes, at this point now, essentially deserves its own show. Anyone? We also want to give huge thanks to Alan in Omaha for taking on posting duties to cyberspacewar.com. That's the main reason you've seen an explosion of postings and news coming out of cyberspacewar.com. But we'll start with just a couple of ones that I had time to post to Cyberspace War. And we start with the DEF CON Sick Switch Risks, where we'll first note from the French agency Press, U.S. launches giant eavesdropping satellite. The U.S. has placed in orbit a vast reconnaissance satellite reputed to be the largest eavesdropping device ever launched into space. The largest unmanned American launch vehicle, the Delta IV Heavy rocket, roared into the night sky in Cape Canaveral, Florida, this past Sunday night, carrying the mysterious satellite on a mission dubbed NROL-32. The National Reconnaissance Office, which of course was running drills in the morning of 9/11 of hijacked jets crashing into government buildings, which amazingly took place. The NRO did not disclose the purpose of the satellite, but widespread reports in the U.S. media suggested is for eavesdropping on enemy communications. Of course, it's for over there. Not going to be for here at all. ITProPortal.com, government focusing on cyber warfare. Armed Forces Chief reveals, yes, they're pushing all of it into cybercom. No, future combat systems didn't quite work out, but we know it'll be back in a different form because, of course, the military-industrial complex, the unstoppable behemoth, the biggest polluter, the biggest money waster, the biggest destroyer of all things great and small. This is one we should pay attention to if you haven't thought about this already. From impactlab.net, study says Wi-Fi makes trees sick. And when you just stop and think about the amount of Wi-Fi that's gone up all around us over the last few years, especially if you live in the city, you hit your available wireless and you're surrounded by it at any given moment. Well, let's do it right now. There's at least 10 wireless signals swirling around my head right now. NYU artist gets camera implanted into his head. Third eye. BBC has quite a long report asking the musical question, should Obama's internet kill switch power be curbed? Folks like Joe Lieberman calling for a kill switch, just like the Chinese have. Of course, they're the model nation, most favored nation. All waiting for an I-911. Cyber shopping poses fraud risks. There's a little Black Friday news for you. That's from CBS59.com. And our last note on this, sick switch risks DEF CON. WikiLeaks diplomatic cable dump reportedly imminent. So yes, we wait with bated breath yet again for another massive WikiLeaks document dump. This one, I believe, is going to show a lot of geopolitical communication, so hopefully it can embarrass folks all around the world and not just our own evil military aforementioned industrial complex. One of the other ones I was able to post to cyberspacewar.com comes from the old gray lady. Growing up digital, wired for distraction. On the eve of a pivotal academic year in Vishal Singh's life, he faces a stark choice on his bedroom desk, book or computer. By all rights, Vishal, a bright 17-year-old, should have already finished Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle, his summer reading assignment, but he's only managed 43 pages in 2 months. He typically favors Facebook, YouTube, and making digital videos. That's the case this August afternoon. Bypassing Vonnegut, he clicks over to YouTube, meaning that tomorrow he will enter his senior year of high school hoping to see an improvement in his grades, but without having completed his only summer homework. On YouTube, you can get a whole story in 6 minutes, he explains. A book takes so long. I prefer the immediate gratification. Students have always faced distractions and time wasters, but computers as cell phones and the constant stream of stimuli they offer pose a profound new challenge to focusing and learning. Massive, massive changes going on that we can only barely wrap our brains around right now. What is the generation we're grooming going to turn into?